Thanks for coming along today, guys. It's good to see you all. My name's Tom. I'm one of the founders of a company called Monterosa, based in London and in the US. I'm not going to bore you with all of our history because it goes back all the way to 2003. It's 10 years now. But the basic headlines are that we're probably the first company, at least in the UK, that specialised in the thing that we now call second screen. It wasn't called second screen in those days. It was called interactivity with TV. And we come out of the production business. We worked at the BBC. The two of us who started the company worked at the BBC. So we know TV production, but we're effectively software engineers and games developers. And you can see here one of those games is a show that I'm going to be talking about shortly. But we're now about 40 people. We've got offices in 3 different countries. And we specialize in these 3 areas. We specialize in entertainment, sport, and advertising. In entertainment, that covers all sorts of different types of TV content, from talent shows to reality. And in sport, events like the Ryder Cup here or the World Cup, we work across tennis, soccer, and everything else you can think of. And advertising, we're just starting to move into this space now as things have developed. And I'm going to show you some case studies from each 3 of these verticals. Before I do, you've probably heard of most of our clients. Some of them are international, people like NBC in the UK, BBC, Channel 4, ITV. So we either work with the broadcaster, the producer, or with the brand or their agency, and sometimes with all 3. And we work across all of those areas I talked about, big names like Top Gear and £1 Million Drop and The Voice. In fact, those are some of the case studies I'm going to talk about. But before I do, I thought it would be useful. It's such a confusing space, this. Everybody's talking about social TV. Everyone's talking about second screen. But what do we actually mean by that? Now, everyone has different definitions, but here's ours. We have this guy, his name's Joe. We've got about 5 of these characters that we use internally as a way of sort of gearing our minds around our audience, and he's just one of them. His name's Joe. He lives in Manchester. He supports Manchester City. You know, he's got a story. He's got a cat, and this is the way that he normally watches TV. He sort of watches TV, he drinks his cup of tea or coffee, he strokes his cat, he reads his paper, and he exists in the living room in the normal way. So that's the sort of traditional way of watching TV. But this is the second mode, connected and distracted. This is where Joe is now because he has an iPad in his living room or a laptop or a phone. This is where he is effectively distracting himself from what's on the TV. He's focused on this device. He's doing something. He's sending an email. He's buying his shopping. And he's listening to the TV. Now, Joe doesn't do this all the time. The behavior with mobile devices particularly is frequent interaction. You sort of use it and you put it back, and you use it and you put it back. But that's the mode that we call connected and distracted, which is, it's sort of a threat, isn't it, to TV, because, you know, he's not really looking at the screen. But it's also, we see it as an opportunity. What this means is that because Joe is familiar with the notion of pulling out his device and interacting, it means that if we want him to do that, it's not something new to him. You know, it's an opportunity. It's a behavioral opportunity as we see it. Now, this third mode is all about conversation. This is more like an organic state. This is what 20 years ago might have taken place in a cafe or a pub. This is just discussion about the TV show that's on. And the existence of Twitter, Facebook, and other social networks have made this into a different type of behavior, but it's actually based on the kind of conversation that people always had about TV that's worth talking about. Now, this has great value, clearly, because it expands the reach of a show. You know, when Joe comments about a show that he's watching, his 300 followers stand a chance of seeing that. So it helps to sort of keep a show brand in the mind of people who are not necessarily watching it at the time, and also to create almost a sort of water cooler moment around TV. So that's interesting, but not everybody uses Twitter, is worth bearing in mind. It's still a minority sport in most territories. But this is the state that we're most interested in. This is where Joe is completely immersed in something, be it a game show, be it a talent show, be it a sporting event, where he's immersed on both screens simultaneously. And this is where, yes, he's distracting himself from the TV occasionally on this device, but what he's doing on this device is related to the TV show that he's watching. So that's how we define the different sort of viewing modes that are going on in the living room now. Just one more definition that I thought might be useful. There's so much activity in what's known as social TV. You know what Twitter and Facebook is. You don't need me to explain that. But there is an increasing number of these types of what we call horizontal social TV apps, be that Zbox in certain territories, Viggle and GetGlue are American propositions. These are consumer-facing apps that you download to your phone. They help you find what you want to watch. They're essentially discovery guides. And then once you sort of check into the show that you've decided to watch, they give you some sort of content that is generally automated. It might be sort of a filtration of what's being talked about on Twitter, and some sort of tailored content for that show. These are what we call horizontal social TV apps. But what we're particularly interested in at Monterosa is the vertical approach, where there is a direct link between what's happening on screen 1 and screen 2. The reason we're interested in this is because this is what drives massive uptake. When you get this right, you see huge numbers of your TV audience interacting on the second screen. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. So the first case study is in entertainment. Now, how this started in 2010, this example. I took a phone call in the office from a production company from Endemol in the UK, and they said, hey, we've got this new show, and we're pretty close to doing the deal with Channel 4. We've worked out the show. It's a game show. It's about spreading your risk on trapdoors, and they described this fantastic sounding game show. But they said, you know, the broadcaster and us, we really want to make it live. Game shows are not normally live, but we want to make it live, and we want to make it interactive. But we've only got 8 weeks to make it happen. So, of course, my sort of heart started beating. So we were really busy at the time as well. But we couldn't turn it down. So we met with them. We talked about this show. And between us, we came up with what we thought was quite a good idea. And it was a real sort of a great example of the collaboration between second screen digital experts like us and amazing TV production talent at Endemol. And this is the show that came out of it. It's called £1 Million Drop in the UK. It has various different names in different territories. And this is really, I think, one of the best examples of fully integrated second screen play-along in this case. It's a game show where you can, in sync with the show, you can move your money around and replicate the experience of being on the show itself. It's had tremendous success in the UK. Now, it's been going since 2010. It was web-only originally, because that's kind of where the emphasis of usage was. It was just on laptops in 2010. Things moved very quickly, and we launched iOS and Android apps last June. And since, I'm quite sure this figure is 2 million now, but that's the official published figure. It's done almost 2 million downloads in the UK, which, you know, as you can imagine, is a sizable portion of the population. We think between 4 and 5 million people have used this game at some point over the last few years. So it's a massive portion of the British public have played or are playing this game. And it converts from first screen to second screen. It converts up to 12.5% of the audience at peak. And that sort of equates to hundreds of thousands of users sometimes. So we're talking about a real large quantity of usage. I'm just going to show you a little tiny clip which explains how we persuade people to go from the state that Joe was in at the beginning there, drinking his tea, stroking his cat, to getting out his phone, his iPad, or his laptop and playing along with the show. So I'll just play you this very short clip.
Hello. Okay, it is 10:01 and we're live tonight. And once again, don't forget, you at home, you can play along live and answer every single question at channel4.com/drop. Now, this series, over 780,000 of you have played along, and it is completely brilliant. So I hear. I'm usually in here presenting. But please, get involved. It's genius. So, you know the rules, right? You've got to gamble all your money on every single question. You can spread your cash, but you must always leave one drop clear. Okay. So all understood?
Yes, yes.
Good. Okay, everybody at home, are you all ready?
You see the way she talks to the audience at home? She looks down the barrel of the lens and she communicates with people sat on their sofas. She's talking to Joe and saying, hey, you know, why don't you just give it a go? And it works, in no small part down to her ability to persuade people to do what she wants. So there's no sound on this. This is the iPad version of the game working. So this is how it works. You effectively play the same game as the contestant. You spread your money across the different trapdoors as they're doing. And then when your time is up, when the time of the question is up, the result appears on the big screen in the show, and the trapdoors will fall down in sync. So you can see there's sort of 25 seconds to go in this case. The game has evolved actually since this screenshot was taken. There's a whole load of stuff that we do in there that you can invite friends, you can play with friends, you can play with strangers, you can even get on the show. In fact, now the only way that you can get on this TV show is by playing this game, which has kept people interested in, obviously, in playing it over a long period of time. So you can see now there's only a couple of seconds left to go. The tension mounts on the screen. The two of them are having an argument about their choice, and in pretty much perfect sync, the game responds. So we're about to see the trapdoors open in a second. Look at him, he's got his head in his... I'm remembering this actually happening. It was a very tense moment. How long have we got? So she's talking to the guy. She's saying, "Are you sure?" He's made his mind up. And I should have tested this out. I didn't realize there's such a long pause. This is what you get for not rehearsing your speech. Come on, then. All right, tell you what, you know what? You know what happens, don't you? The trapdoors go down. You're going to use your imagination. I can't be bothered waiting. Anyway, so that was the point of it. That's how it works. It's a really good fun game. Now, this is a point I wanted to make. You can see at the bottom we're using some graphics here to highlight what people at home are doing. 84% of students playing along online survived the last question. Now, if you're a student, if you're a member of that tribe, and that comes up on the screen, suddenly you feel this connection with the show that you didn't have before. This is a way of it. It's almost like glue, we see it. It's a sort of social glue. This sort of thing, whether it's in graphics or whether the presenter actually talks about it, that gets people, students, to play the game. So you see a sort of incline sometimes over the period of a show where new people who've been talked about decide to come online. And that, I think, is an essential part of any really successful second screen show, is reflecting what's going on at home on the big screen. So the key lessons from that, and it's a huge success, is keep it simple. It really is quite straightforward. You don't have to sort of divert your attention too much. Keep it fun, obvious, and rewarding, and make sure you give it a really persuasive push, and that's what Davina was doing there. And if you have a look at this, is I think the only chart that I'm going to bore you with. If you have a look at what happens here, you can see that sort of steep curve at the beginning. That's the start of the show. That's everyone getting online. Now, what happened in the middle here is that there were two contestants who won £200,000. It was the biggest giveaway it was the biggest win that had ever happened on the show. And they won the money and they were celebrating. And then the presenter, Davina, she said to the camera, she said, "What you probably don't realize at home is that these two guys were playing that game last week. That's how they got on this show." And look what happens. You get another, I don't know how many people that was, it's in the tens of thousands anyway, of extra people thought, "Oh, crikey, yeah, okay, that could be me, couldn't it?" So it inspires that sort of reaction. And there are hundreds of tips like that. There are a lot of things that you can say that get people to respond. But the point is, it's all about persuasion. Now, I don't know sort of what kind of content you guys are involved with, as so much TV is so broad, but you might be thinking this. That's all very well, isn't it, for a live show, a high-budget live show at that. But what if my content isn't live? What if it's, what if it's taped? What if it's a reality show or something that's been in the can for a couple of months? Well, this is an example of just that. This is the reason for showing this is Top Gear. It's obviously a big global car show made by the BBC. This is a game called Top Gear Bingo, which is basically a drinking game. You don't have to drink with it, but the whole point is that you listen out for cues in the episode, and when you hear a certain cue, like Piers Morgan or shopping trolley, then you hit the square. And if you get certain combinations, then you win points, and you compete against your friends, or you compete against other people in real time. And this is sort of creating an event around a taped show. So it's all about the transmission. If it's at 8 o'clock, this is in loads of different territories. I think Poland is the place that has been most successful. The Polish version of this, well, the Polish channel really got behind it. They really pushed it, and so it's hugely successful. So you're sat there, you see the trailer, you get out your iPad, you hit the URL. This is not an app, it's a web app, an HTML5 web app. You hit the URL, and there's a countdown to the start of the game. The show starts, the game starts at the same time, and you feel like you're sort of part of something. You feel like there was a reason to tune in live. But part of the success, as ever, is down to how well it's promoted on TV. And this is a nice little trailer that I'm going to play you. Now, bear in mind, this is supposed to be sort of revoiced, and there's graphic straps go on for different languages and different territories. But I think you'll get the idea.
The new 1M. It's like a turkey curry on Boxing Day. Good news! Faster and more expensive M3. Corner stay. Time to put a star in our reasonably priced car. My guest tonight was christened Vincent, but then he became a rock star and decided he...
So this is where the voiceover starts and the graphics come on and tell you which URL to hit if you want to play. So that's a bit of fun. So, you know, if you play that just before a show, you get a really healthy portion of your audience playing that game. It's as simple as that. You make a good trailer and they do it. Just found my clicker, and I'm hoping it's going to start working. Yes. Fantastic. So here's a sport example for you. This is probably I think it's one of our most recent projects. There's a horse race in the UK called the Grand National. It's the biggest racing event of the year. There's about £300 million bet on one race that is the most chaotic horse race in the world by a long way. You can see a bit of it in the background there. There's about 40 horses in this race, and because such a large quantity of non-racing fans place money on this thing, it becomes a sort of social event. It's more than just a horse race. And we went to Channel 4, the broadcaster, and said to them, you know, there's a very large tribe of your audience who put money on those horses who have no idea what's going on in that field. You know, they stand there in the pub or in their living room and they're watching this race, and one, they can't see where their horse is, two, they don't even know what their horse looks like, and the whole thing is just a bit of a confused mess. So we said, what if we were to try and track horses around the track somehow? We thought there's a company that specializes in these little transponders that you put in the saddles of the horses, and they transmit positioning data back to their servers. And we thought, well, couldn't we make an app that gave that data to the audience? So we did, and it's called Horse Tracker. And you can see here that it allows you to see the position of your horse, the speed that it's going, and the distance to the leader. And this little thing at the bottom shows you how far away from the next jump it is. So the idea was to sort of make this really fun event even better by allowing you to sort of place a bet and track your horse around it. This slide's out of place. Well, I've already told you that. You know about that. What I'm going to do is just show you the promo that we made for this particular app. It's very short. Here you go.
This Saturday, the John Smith's Grand National comes to Channel 4. And with Horse Tracker, you can enjoy the race like never before. Download the app or go online, select your horses, and track their progress live throughout the race. Download now or access Horse Tracker online at channel4.com/horsetracker.
So there's a couple of things interesting there. One is that actually there was no feedback to TV in this instance, but it was hugely popular. It went straight to #1 in the App Store pretty much instantly as soon as the trailer went out. It was free as well, which helps. The second thing is that it was both an app that you could download, and you could also just go to a website, and we made an HTML5 version of it. And we saw a really healthy portion of people just do it that way, people using Android phones or using laptops. So there's, for the techies amongst you, the hybrid approach is certainly worth doing if you can. All of that is fantastic if you're a passionate racing fan or if you're a passionate Top Gear fan. But what's the value to advertisers? Because you know, the majority of the world's broadcasters are ad-funded. Well, there's a bunch of stuff that we're doing with advertisers, and we're now at a stage in this business where it's making a profit, which is nice, as ever. And this is the kind of stuff we're doing. imagine Domino's have sponsored this show. It was a show called Red or Black. There's a break bumper showing their sponsorship, showing their product. But that's, as part of most territories, you can't actually sell product in that break bumper. But if you've got hundreds of thousands of people playing along online, you can sell product. And what we did there is push a coupon into the experience. And this happened to be taking place at dinner time. So you can imagine the sort of success rate that had. There were an awful lot of pizzas sold during that particular game show. And yes, I do feel guilty. And this is another example of a TV show, a brand-funded TV show, where there's a competition, a styling competition that takes place live during the show. And as part of that, you can buy the outfits that you're styling from the retailer that paid for the TV show. So there's two examples of sort of getting closer to the product there. But by far the most valuable opportunity within Second Screen is in data. And I know everyone's talking about data these days, and it's almost becoming a sort of cliche. But it really is very valuable, especially if you don't have a one-to-one relationship with your audience. If you're a free-to-air broadcaster and you need to know something about your audience and you want to communicate with them, cross-promote and upsell to them, then you can see the Second Screen as a data collection funnel, as a registration funnel. It's hugely, hugely successful in the case of £1 Million Drop. And this is an example of The Voice with NBC that we do, where we voluntarily ask people to put their first, last names in, email address and age, and a very healthy portion of them choose to do that. The other benefit, aside from data and lead generation, is social amplification. So if we can imagine we can get 10% of the audience taking part in an experience like this, if a portion of those people share that experience on their social network, then we expand the reach of the show. And if the brand is involved, it expands the reach of their sponsorship or their product. And this brings me to my final case study. I'm running a minute over time, apologies. This is a project that we delivered with Volkswagen and Mediacom in the UK. It took place during X Factor, the biggest show on British TV. We bought 3 ad spots, and we made a sort of interactive competition stroke experience around that show in the ad breaks. Now, this case study explains pretty much the whole thing. So this will bring me to the end. Thank you.
The launch of a Volkswagen, especially a new Golf, is a major event. Mediacom Beyond Advertising, in partnership with Second Screen specialists Monterosa, created a national live TV event inside ITV's X Factor that was not only a media first, but engaged a huge number of people on the second screen and generated a mass of social buzz and positive brand association. The event was part of Volkswagen's One Thing campaign, which asks the audience questions about themselves. In the semi-final of X Factor, within 3 20-second ad spots, we asked the Saturday night audience to name their one song, with the result revealed live during the show itself. The first spot sets the scene, and with a big call to action, we asked people at home to get involved by submitting their one song.
To celebrate the launch of the new Golf, Volkswagen is asking you one question. If you could only listen to one song for the rest of your life, what would it be? Tell us by 9 tonight at live.onething.com. We'll reveal the most popular song before the end of the show.
It's straightforward and it works on any device. We collect some basic data, name and location, and that's used to highlight song choices in the second spot. The simple, secure HTML5 second screen app is created using the Monterosa Elvis platform, integrated with the broadcaster's playout systems.
Tonight, Volkswagen is asking you one question. If you could only listen to one song for the rest of your life, what would it be? Thousands of you have already submitted your one song. Tell us by 9 tonight at live.onething.com.
The second ad spot gives the audience a social update, telling them what everyone else is saying and doing at home. This galvanizes people into action, and the ticking clock reminds people to vote now, not later. After they've voted, the audience are encouraged to tweet the reasons for choosing that song. Having spent some time thinking about the song choice, the majority of voters tweeted, helping #VW1Thing trend 3rd on Twitter, higher than the show itself.
Earlier, Volkswagen asked, if you could only listen to one song for the rest of your life, what would it be? We can now reveal the most popular answer. The new Golf, coming soon.
Voting closes, and in the final ad break, we unveil Britain's one song. Tens of thousands of votes later, Britain had made its choice. Once they've voted, people are taken through to VW's Facebook page to continue their journey and make their personalised film.
So that's me. Thank you very much. I've just got one thought to leave you with, which is this. This term has been adopted by people all over the world to describe what it is that we do, but I find it thoroughly unuseful as a term because it's so broad. I would like to propose that this kind of TV is known as tribal TV. If you look at the audiences who engage with these products, they're all members of a tribe. So it's just a thought for you to think about. Thank you very much. So sorry.
Nu får ni koppla om språkörat helt enkelt. Jag tänker inte prata på svengelska, jag håller mig till svenskan. Jag heter Nickoletta, kommer från TV4-gruppen och jobbar främst med att utveckla digitala lösningar och kreativa idéer som man kan göra på digitala plattformar med våra stora tv-format vi har på TV4. Kort om TV4. Vi har funnits i över 20 år och är Sveriges största tv-bolag. Vi är ledande i Norden med cirka 25 miljoner tittare. Vi finns såklart på digitala plattformar där vi har samlat allt rörligt material under TV4 Play. Vi sänder nyheter, underhållning, sport och drama och omfattar cirka 40 tv-kanaler i Norden. Statistik visar att fler och fler tvurfar detta fantastiska nya ord. Det vill säga surfar när man tittar på tv. 80% av amerikanare gör detta, eller 70% gör det varje vecka och över 50% gör det dagligen. Vi svenskar, vi gillar också att tvurfa. Mellan 48% och 75% av oss tvurfar. Tvurfar ni? Kanske man ska fråga. Ja. Vi är ungefär likadana, vi svenskar och norrmän. Vi ser ju en enorm, väldigt många använder mobilen. En otroligt starkt växande plattform. Och många av våra besökare finns där. Snart är de över 50% faktiskt. Och under 2014 så förväntas över 80% i Sverige äga en smartphone. Och över hälften av alla hushåll äga en surfplatta. Som Tom pratar om så är det väldigt många som använder just ordet second screen. Det är lite av ett modeord idag. Men vad är det för något? En second screen eller en andra skärm är ju till för att knyta samman innehållet mellan tvn och plattformen som du sitter med i handen. Det kan vara en desktop, en mobil eller en surfplatta. Och tanken är att en second screen ska maxa tv-upplevelsen. Den ska fördjupa, det ska vara någonting som ger mer. Det ska ge ett mervärde till tv-formatet. Precis som Tom också pratar om så har vi släppt en play along-app tidigare som heter Pengarna på bordet. Som gick väldigt, väldigt bra. 150 000 nedladdningar och vid varje sändningstillfälle så spelade var 9:e tv-tittare. Och här var också väldigt snyggt upplagt med många hänvisningar från programledaren som uppmanade folk där hemma att spela med. Vi jobbar också väldigt mycket med grafik. I slutet till exempel så la vi upp vinnaren. Så här, grattis Lisa i Hösbo, du har vunnit. Du svarar bäst av alla i Sverige idag. Just nu så pågår hockey-VM i Sverige. Vi behöver inte nämna hur det går för Norge där. Men i samband med detta så har vi också släppt en hockey-app. Och man loggar in via Facebook och så spelar man i realtid mot sina vänner. Mot tv-sändningen i hockeykunskaper eller frågor som ställs av sportredaktioner som har med matcherna att göra. Jag ska främst prata om Let's Dance VIP. Själva second screenen som vi jobbar med heter ju TV4 V.I.P, men den är framtagen för att användas på flera olika tv-format. I det här fallet så har vi använt den på Let's Dance och då får den helt naturligt namnet Let's Dance VIP. Eller VIPen som vi kallar den i folkmun när vi jobbar med den. Let's Dance är ju bland de största tv-formaten vi har inom TV4-gruppen. Vi snittar cirka 1,6 miljoner tittare och den här säsongen som är vår 8:e säsong spås bli en av våra bästa säsonger någonsin. Oj. VIPen eller Let's Dance VIP är responsiv, det vill säga den är byggd responsiv för att passa alla plattformar. Desktop, surfplatta och mobil. Även TV4.se är responsiv byggd. Let's Dance VIP ska man också säga är inte en app, utan man behöver alltså inte ladda ner den, utan man går in via TV4.se där den är integrerad och så klickar man sig vidare in i VIPen. När man kommer in i VIPen så möts man av den här vyn. Nu ska jag se om jag kan peka med den här. Där. Till vänster här så har man en liten meny där det står händelse. Strax under har du Twitter, du har Instagram och så har du röstningsinformation. I mittenspalten här så är det en sammanfattning av vad som händer i själva huvudflödet. Det är små symboler som pekar på vad det är för typ av innehåll. Om det är en artikel, om det är rörligt innehåll, om det är en fråga som har ställts. Och här då till höger så är det själva huvudflödet som pågår. När någonting händer i second screenen så får man en liten notis här. Man pushar ut innehållet, man får en notis längst upp. Funkar ungefär som Facebook. Så står det ett nytt inlägg, klickar man på det och så trycks allt innehåll ner. Och man kan jobba med alla typer av innehåll. Här har vi jobbat med infografs. Här är lite kuriosa om rumba. Och jag gissar, eller jag vet, att de har pratat om rumba i programmet. De har förmodligen dansat en rumba. Och ut kommer då information som inte har fått plats kan man säga. Det här är darlingsen i Kill Your Darlings. Det kommer ut lite kuriosa om rumban, var den kommer ifrån, hur juryn dömer rumban och så vidare. Man kan också jobba med bilder. Här har vi Robinson-Robban som var med i årets Let's Dance. Han har givit oss access till några privata bilder som vi skickar ut här. Det är viktigt att tänka på när man skickar ut information i en second screen att det ska kännas exklusivt. Det ska finnas liksom, som tv-tittare så vill man ju belönas när man går in i VIPen. Man ska ju hitta information här som man inte kan hitta någon annanstans. Och där har ju vi en väldigt stor access eftersom vi kan ta del av allt det här eftersom det är vårt format helt enkelt. Man kan också ställa frågor. Folk älskar att rösta. Folk älskar att klicka. Det är bland det mest framgångsrika vi har i VIPen. Det kan vara allt från vilken av kvällens danser du gillade bäst till var juryn för hård. Var det rätt par som åkte ut? Och så röstningsinformation som vi skickar ut när alla paren dansar. Här är Anna Brolin som är en av deltagarna. Så skickar vi ut hur man kan rösta på henne och hur lätt. I mobilen så kan man även klicka sig vidare och rösta direkt. Man kan lägga in videoinslag som oftast är små korta intervjuer som görs backstage under kvällen och så lägger man ut dem direkt och så får man det här bakom kulisserna-känslan som man vill ha. Man kan också påverka sändningen. Tom pratade också om det. Det är väldigt viktigt att en second screen är till för att föra tv-tittaren närmare innehållet som aldrig varit möjligt tidigare. Och i det här fallet så har David Helenius som är en av programledarna bett om hjälp. Han har bett tittarna om hjälp. Vilka frågor ska jag ställa i Greenroom till deltagarna? Hjälp mig gå in på VIPen och rösta. Senare ska ni få se resultatet av den här hänvisningen. Sponsorer, istället för att investera i mossiga banners, höll jag på att säga, men i banners och runt omkring så ger vi dem möjligheten här att komma in i flödet. Och det har ju inte heller varit möjligt tidigare att de kommer så nära inpå, så nära tittarna. De har precis samma, de kan aktivera sig precis som redaktionen kan genom bilder, genom frågeställningar eller genom rörligt material. Alla sponsorinlägg är markerade med en liten sponsorbalk, och i mittersta kolumnen här så är det markerat med en liten sponsormeddelande rubrik, så att man förstår att det är sponsrat helt enkelt. Går man sedan vidare i den här lilla menyn till vänster så kommer man till Twitter. Och här har vi kopplat den officiella hashtaggen Let's Dance SE och alla deltagarnas Twitterkonto och alla programledarens Twitterkonto och proffsdansarnas Twitterkonto. Så här är egentligen det flödet som pågår under livesändningen. Det här är ju ett sätt att behålla folk i Let's Dance-sfären. Vi vill ju liksom inte att de sticker iväg. Vi vill ju liksom, när de ändå sitter där och tvurfar, så ska de ju vara hos oss. Det är det vi är ute efter. Och därför samlar vi, här behöver man inte ens lämna, man behöver inte ens ha Twitter här. Man kan bara gå in och titta vad som skrivs om programmet i realtid. Samma sak med Instagram. Här har vi kopplat deltagarnas Instagram-konto och proffsdansarnas Instagram-konto. Det är nämnvärt att säga att både proffsdansarna och deltagarna är ju väldigt, väldigt aktiva socialt under programmets gång, så det här sköter sig lite självt. Det sker liksom uppdateringar hela tiden. Let's Dance officiella konto som skapades för den här säsongen är uppe i 9000 följare just nu, så det är väldigt, väldigt stort. A och O för att en second screen ska funka är att den integreras i TV-innehållet. Om inte TV-innehållet pratar om second screenen så kommer aldrig besökarna hitta dit. Pratar vi inte om VIP-en i Let's Dance-programmet så kommer aldrig någon gå in på VIP-en på sajten. Och detta gör man på olika sätt. Antingen gör man det med klassiska grafiska hänvisningar. Här har man ställt en fråga och bett folk att gå in på TV4.se. Eller så gör man det rörligt. Det här är då resultatet av den här frågan eller hjälpen som David Helenius bad om i en fråga tidigare. Vi kan sätta på klippet kanske.
Under tiden lite frågestund. Jag har varit inne på TV4.se, landat på den så kallade VIPen och röstat fram frågor som jag ska ställa i den ordning då som ni har röstat fram. Marco, var är du någonstans?
Här är jag.
En fråga som vann överlägset. Frågan är, helt ärligt, vad tycker du om Sean Banan?
Han är bra. Duktig på det han gör.
Ja. Vilken konstig röst du fick.
Nej. Nej, men han är bra. Han är som gamla Dr. Bombay. Jämför honom med. Kommer du ihåg honom? Ja, eller Dr. Mugg.
Det är finast man kan säga till någon. Ja. Just det, var är du någonstans, Oskar?
Så där ser det ut. Det blir den här 360 graders grejen vi är ute efter. Vi ställer en fråga eller vi ber folk gå in på VIPen, rösta. De går in och gör det och resultatet kommer här. Då känner man när man sitter i tv-soffan, shit, de lyssnar på vad jag säger. De ställde den frågan som jag ville att de skulle ställa. Det är en enorm känsla när man sitter där i tv-rutan och kollar på sitt favoritprogram. Att vi hör vad de säger. Trafiken då, den är ganska oförutsägbar. Vi har bara gjort det här i 6 veckor. Vi lanserade i samband med Let's Dance-premiären. Och VIPen är bara öppen under sändning, under livesändningen. Det man kan säga är allt material som pushas ut i VIPen är inte publiceras också på sajten så man kan gå in efteråt och läsa det som en chattfeed. Men de här topparna som ni ser här är ju då när man får de här tv-hänvisningarna som vi är ute efter. Vad klickar folk på när de är inne i VIPen? Vad vill de läsa? Vad vill de se? Det är ganska basic stuff. De vill få reda på hur man ringer, vem man ringer, vilket telefonnummer som tillhör vem. De vill se alla ord, se alla danser igen. De vill hjälpa till. Har du David-frågan där. Och de vill vara med bakom kulisserna. Jag tänkte avsluta med lite lärdomar efter den här korta tiden som vi har kört den här typen av second screen. Integreringen i rutan, som jag pratat om tidigare, är väldigt, väldigt viktig. Därför är det viktigt att ta med produktionsbolaget från start så att de förstår second screenen och kan arbeta in den i innehållet. För där det väl är livesändning så kommer de aldrig kunna testa den. De sitter ju och gör annat, de sitter ju i sändningsbussen. Samma sak med programledarna och deltagarna. Låta dem känna på vippen, gå in, testa den. För då kommer de där naturliga hänvisningarna man är ute efter. Det som inte behövs skrivas i manus. När man pratar second screen så det finns alltid en rädsla för att man tar tv-tittare från rutan. Och det stämmer inte alls. Vi är ju där för att behålla tv-tittarna inom Let's Dance. Vi vill ju att de ska hålla på med Let's Dance på alla plattformar. Vi vill ju inte att de sticker iväg till konkurrenter. Vi vill att de ska stanna i den här sfären och bara äta Let's Dance. Det är det vi vill att de ska göra. Så snarare tvärtom skulle jag vilja säga. Vi ger fler tittare till Let's Dance. Det redaktionella innehållet kräver stor arbetsinsats och det kräver en hel del jobb. Bättre att köra innehåll som håller kvalitet än att bara pusha ut kvantitet. Och det är viktigt att det som pushas ut inte är det som visas i rutan. För att man ska ju känna att det som kommer i second screenen är exklusivt. Rörligt innehåll, som jag visade innan, det har vi också lärt oss att det funkar bäst under reklampauser. Vi har sett ett beteende som gör att folk går tillbaka och klickar på de där rörliga klippen som vi har pushat ut under sändningen. För att man vill ändå inte riktigt titta på 2 rörliga inslag samtidigt. Så det är ett tips. Och integrera med frågor i programmet. Folk älskar att tycka till. Så är det bara. Vi gillar att säga vad vi har på hjärtat. Och det kan vara det mest banala, helt enkelt. Det var det jag hade. Tack så hemskt mycket. Frågor. Har ni några frågor?
Ni har ju ett varumärke för avspelning av liveprogram. För som jag tolkar dig så är det här inte hela livesändningen som ni spelar av. Men ni har ju ett varumärke som heter TV4 Play som är en betalprodukt. Hur samkör ni de här 2 varumärkena och gör det tydligt för tittarna vad man ska gå för att se hela sändningen? Och hur har ni integrerat de här 2 apparna?
Alltså vi livesänder ju i Play samtidigt. Så att om man... Vänta, jag kan gå tillbaka här. Om jag ska se om jag förstår det. Men det här är en surfplatta. Vi ser här en printscreen på en surfplatta. Så här, om man klickar där så droppar livespelaren ner. Men tanken med en second screen är inte egentligen att du ska sitta här och titta. Eller i Play. För att du ska egentligen titta på det på tvn. Är väl, och Let's Dance är ju inte premium under livesändningen. Så den finns ju accessbar för alla tv-tittare.
Du sa att det krävde mycket arbeidsinsats. Har dere något tall som visar att det är värt det?
Jag menar personer eller?
Nej, jag tänker på att dere lägger ju mycket arbete ner för att laga den här VIP-sidan.
Ja.
Har dere något tall som visar att insatsen dere putter in är värt det, sån ekonomiskt sett?
Ja, det är det. Alltså, second screenen, egentligen, tidigare har vi arbetat med sajten under veckorna. Inför varje livesändning så har man ju eller vi har i alla fall ett webbteam som jobbar bara med Let's Dance digitalt. Egentligen vad vi har gjort, det har flyttat fokus från att hålla på mycket under veckan till de här livesändningarna och innehållet här. För arbetet går inte till spillo även om de bara skickas ut under just livesändningen. Det publiceras på sajten och ligger kvar efteråt. Så egentligen kan man inte säga att det jag menar med att det krävs arbetsinsats är att det krävs lite mer finess i det man lägger ut. Inte så mycket liksom alltså inte så mycket som är självklara saker, utan kanske lite mer så här exklusiva. Var lite mer kreativ. Det är det jag menar med arbetsinsats. Arbetsinsatsen är annars ganska mycket densamma som när vi jobbade tidigare utan second screen. Det var nog allt, tror jag. Kristallklart. Tack så mycket.